Welcome to Bearcat Update. I'm Jenny James, and as you can see, we aren't in our normal environment. We're in downtown Kansas City, outside Municipal Auditorium for the MIAA Tournament. There were some other sports in action though, and first we start with the men's tennis team. They came off of a NCAA appearance last season, and they were picked to finish third in the MIAA coaches poll this year. We catch up with our reporter, MIAA Babcock, as she sits down with the team and their reaction.
On Tuesday, February 27th, the Northwest Missouri State tennis team was home for the first time this season to take on William Jewell. Men's tennis player Agustin Velasco explains why he loves playing at home.
It's really good. We feel like we are playing at home, and the people, like friends and students, came to see you play. And
it is still the beginning of their season, so the team has to be versatile in the way that they play.
The main thing is keep working. We are trying to fix it, the lineup and doubles and all the stuff, but once that we got that, I think that we can do very good.
The tennis team has won conference 8 years in a row and regionals the last 2 years. They came into the season picked third in the 2018 MIAA preseason coaches poll. Team captain Joseph Altman explains what it's like being the underdog.
Well, at least me, that I've been here for the past 3 years, we're used to being number one in the preseason polls, but it's just a preseason poll. It's what the coaches think it's going to be, so it's actually also nice not to have that target on our backs, which we kind of do because we're the defending champs, but still coming up from behind is always better to step up than to have to remain on top.
Being a tennis player means you have to be able to adapt. The spring weather is unpredictable and the team has to be able to play anywhere.
We went one day before to play indoors, to feel how are it's different play indoors than outside for the wind and different things. But yeah, we have to be ready to play indoors and outdoors, because we have, for example, one match today outdoor, and tomorrow maybe we have an indoor match, so we have to be prepared for that.
The team will continue their season with one goal in mind.
Our goal is pretty simple. We want to win the conference and make it to the national tournament. That's what our goal has been for the last 3 years that I've been here, and I hope we can get it in my last year here.
The team finished Tuesday with an 8-1 win over William Jewell. They will take this win at home to push them to a successful season. Reporting for Bearcat Update, I'm MIAA Babcock.
Thanks, Maria. The men's basketball team played in the first round of the MIAA tournament on Friday and beat Pittsburgh State. During the first regular season contest against Pittsburgh State, the Bearcats won 84-54. The next time they squared up, they played without Justin Pitts and came away with the win 78-64. Friday, Northwest picked up their 23rd win of the season against Pitt State, 79-73. Justin Pitts back in his usual form with 25 points, 11 of those coming from the free throw line. Xavier Kurth dropped in 14 points and pulled down 6 rebounds. After Friday's games, the bracket was a little shooken up. The second seed Missouri Southern was upset by Fort Hays State. Southern's loss was the first upset of the men's tournament. Moving on now, Northwest Baseball was in action this weekend. The team, coming off of a 3-game winning streak, sat at 6-6. The team travels to Fort Hays for its second MIAA series of the season. Saturday, the Northwest Baseball team took on Fort Hays and they beat them in the first game 13-1. Later Saturday, they fell 2-4. But on Sunday, in the rubber match, Northwest beat Fort Hays 11-4 and Mondo Gutierrez had 6 RBIs. The baseball team will be at home next week, but we're going to take a quick break, but stick around. We've got Spoof Hound basketball right around the corner. Stay tuned to Bearcat Update on KNWT Channel 8. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. I'm Jenny James. The Maryville men's basketball team traveled to Excelsior Springs to take on St. Paul Lutheran in the first round of the MIAA playoffs, and they won 70-55. Saturday, the team travels to Lee Summit to take on Hogan Prep. Now we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the previous Bearcat Update host and current KQ2 reporter and sports anchor, Max Moore. Max, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's nice when you guys can let me come back a little bit and relive the glory days. I know I can't close the yearbook, but it's nice to be back. And especially in Kansas City, because beautiful place, Municipal Auditorium, awesome little place. They've got the Marriott over there. I've stayed there a few times. Kansas City Convention Center. We're just in the middle of it all here.
Yeah, it's the 816. It's the best city in the whole nation.
We won't go there. We won't go there.
Max, what's it like working at KQ2?
So far, so good. You know, I get to cover a lot of different things. I got the wrestling, got basketball. I've had the tail end of a few other sports, but you know, I'm just really excited to be able to continue doing what I love doing, especially getting paid to cover sports. It's kind of a dream come true. Obviously, it's not anywhere huge yet, but you got to start small, and it's a nice gritty spot to where I can really kind of perfect my craft and kind of move on eventually.
Definitely, it's so great to see you doing what you love, and it's just a great opportunity.
Looking forward to it.
You mentioned covering some district basketball, and the Spoof Hounds, Maryville, they have a chance to make it to the Final Four, so kind of talk about the Spoof Hounds.
Well, the Spoof Hounds are, how would I put it? They're a little unpredictable. They are one of the more athletic teams you'll find, and especially not only in the MEC, but in Class 3. They have Eli Dallas, they have Trey Oglesby, they have Jalen Sundell. They have a lot of guys that can be athletic. They're very athletically gifted. They can run up and down the floor, they can get rebounds, they can put up shots. It's just sometimes they don't play all together and they kind of get lax on the defensive side. We saw that when they played Benton, and Benton, no disrespect to them, but they're not the strongest of teams, especially in Class 4. So it was really tough to see them lose, Maryville to lose to Benton, and thinking, how is this team going to move on in the playoffs? But you know, watching their district championship game last week, I saw a very good Maryville team come out and take care of Penny Hamilton with LaTroy Harper, who's going to Northwest, and I saw he's actually even embracing the Maryville crowd a little bit too. I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, he had a Spoof Hound shirt on, so he's embracing that. But you know, Maryville has had some good games, and I think they're going to be just fine moving forward. But you got a tough matchup coming up.
Yeah, that tough matchup is against Hogan Prep. And what are you seeing from Hogan Prep?
Well, Hogan Prep has 3 losses on the year, but they are in classes higher than Class 3, obviously, so 4 and 5. So that means that they haven't lost anyone in Class 3, which is difficult for the Spoof Hounds. And I've talked to a few guys, a few townies that love their Spoof Hound basketball, and they've said Hogan Prep's going to be really the roadblock for them. If they can make it past Hogan Prep, then I wouldn't want to say it's smooth sailing, but things are going to be looking good moving towards the Final Four and maybe even to the state championship game down in Springfield.
What do the Spoof Hounds need to do kind of as a team to keep this run going?
It's just all about scoring. I think you got to be able to score, and obviously the defensive side's important, but what I've noticed with Maryville, if they get out to a hot start, they put up 10 points easy in the first half of the first quarter, and then maybe even get 15 to 20 points in the first quarter, and be able to match these teams point for point, or possession for possession, I should say, then they're going to be doing just fine. And I think as far as going against Hogan Prep, if they can get those buckets and then get some stops against Hogan Prep, then I think that they're going to have a really good shot later today.
Who are some key players on that Spoof Hound team?
I would say Trey Oglesby is a big scorer for the Spoof Hounds, and Eli Dowse is obviously, you know, one of the best athletes in Maryville and probably in the Northwest Missouri in general. But I want to say Jalen Sundell, because what comes to be such a big factor, and we saw it last year in the national championship for the Northwest Missouri State Bearcats, is getting those rebounds. Jalen can go up there and get those boards. He's 6'6", big athletic frame. He's going to North Dakota State to play football. Very athletic, more athletic than I ever was. You know, I can't go up and get those rebounds like he can. And I even talked to his dad, because I did a story about his sister, who was a freshman on the Maryville team. He doesn't even want to play his own son in one-on-one anymore, because he knows he'll get beat up down there getting those rebounds. So look for Jalen to get those rebounds, to get those putbacks real easy, and just to be able to get some points in there as well. I can see him. He had a big game last game, I should say. So it'll be interesting and fun to see him be able to go out there and perform.
It's definitely really exciting to see them make it this far. But Max, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you back on the show. We're going to take a look at those highlights from the Hogan Prep game. Jacob Woods gets ready for what could be his last game as a Spoof Hound. Maryville taking on defending third-place champions. Early in the game, Damian Daniels' pump fakes, goes left, finishes with the floater. Later in the first quarter, Eli Dowse pounding in the post. He hits the fadeaway. Hounds sticking around. Daniels again here, but this time with the assist. Miles Johnson knocks down the big three-pointer, putting Hogan Prep ahead. Later, Houchin swings to Jacob Woods. He went in on that three-ball action. Splash. Late in the first half, Rashawn Collins drives past a jumping Jacob Woods. He hits the acrobatic layup.
Hounds go into the break down by 9. Early in the second half, Tate Oglesby on the fast break. He goes strong into the big man and 2 points for the Spoof Hounds. LaTroy Harper loving the strength on that play. Then Dallas, one-on-one with the behind the back, then the pump fake, kisses it off the glass. But Damian Daniels' 31 points was too much for the Spoof Hounds. They fall in the quarterfinals 57-47. Eli Dallas led the Hounds with 13 points. After the game, Coach Stecklein talked about how the Hounds kept fighting in the second half.
Yeah, at halftime we talked about just being the dog and getting after it and taking a punch and battling back, and I thought they did. They responded. Super. I mean, they were awesome kids to take that and to come back and take the lead at one point and just keep fighting the entire game.
Unfortunately, the Maryville boys basketball season has come to an end, but baseball starts soon. Stick around, we're going to take a quick break, and we've got Northwest basketball highlights to come. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. I'm Jenny James. Saturday, the Northwest men's basketball team took on Central Oklahoma, but first, we have brought in Ryan Elliott to talk about what Northwest has to do to continue this run. Ryan, thanks for joining us today in Kansas City.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be out here.
Yeah, for sure. So Ryan, Northwest took on Pitt on Friday. What did you kind of see from that game?
That game was really a classic 1 versus 8 game in the MIAA tournament. We've seen Northwest in that game a lot, and just about every time they've had a tough time. Pitt's a talented team. They're athletic. They've got some size at Dietrich Cole, who's 6'10", and they gave Northwest a little bit of trouble, but Northwest was able to battle back from an early deficit, come back, play some great basketball late in the first half and into the second half, and really get some momentum moving forward into today.
Into today, you're talking about Central Oklahoma. There was a huge upset. Missouri Southern is now out. So how's that kind of looking now?
Well, I think the focus for this Northwest team is obviously on Central Oklahoma today, a team with a lot of size. They have the ability to get inside and be physical, pound the basketball inside, grab rebounds, which is something that this Northwest team does well as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the matchup between two good rebounding teams, two teams that are good inside, how Brett Doherty does against some good inside defense from Central Oklahoma, and how this Northwest team does as a whole. As for the whole tournament, I think you look at now, all of a sudden, I think Washburn's feeling pretty confident. The big obstacle for them was Missouri Southern, and now all of a sudden Southern's out of the way. They get to focus on Hayes today, and I think they're feeling really good. So it's a question of who comes out of each game, and we'll just see what happens.
You mentioned Washburn. They're a pretty tough team. We saw them during the regular season, kind of played some close games. What are you expecting to see if we end up against Washburn?
I think when you look at Washburn, they're another team that does a lot of the same things well that Northwest does. They can rebound the ball really well. They've got a very good big man in Brady Skeens. He can do just about everything. He can rebound, he can play really good defense, and he can score inside. The matchup between Brett Doherty and Brady Skeens was something that we saw twice during the regular season. Brett Doherty won both of those matchups, so it'll be interesting to see if Skeens can get him back this time, if they do play each other. And then I think you look at some of the other options. You look at Fort Hays. Hays is kind of a surprise. You see that team and you go, well, they don't do anything particularly great, but they do everything well. They're a balanced basketball team, and they can play some good basketball clearly as they took down Missouri Southern. So I think both of the teams in the other game will be threats if Northwest makes it to the championship game today.
What does Northwest need to do to continue this run and get back into the championship game? And if they do get into the championship game and win, what do you think that really means to the community?
I think in order to get back to the MIAA championship game and even beyond, they have to stay healthy. They're gonna need Chris Endow, who's coming back from an injury, should be back close to 100% here in the next couple of games. Justin Pitts coming back from an injury now is probably as close to his old self as we're gonna see. And I think they're just going to have to stay healthy. They're going to have to keep themselves in the right mindset. They can't back off, especially in the MIAA. This is a conference where if you don't play well, anybody can beat anybody. So I think they need to to keep the right mindset throughout this tournament. If they make it to the MIAA championship game, if they win, that to me is just validation. You know, we've heard Coach McCollum talk about how regular season conference championships mean consistency. They mean you can consistently win over the course of a regular season. Well, a conference tournament means that your regular season championship was valid. That means that, you know, it wasn't a fluke that you won the regular season championship. So I think that just means validation for this team.
And coming off of 3 losses in the regular season, what do you think another conference title would mean?
I think, again, validation, and I think when you look at this team, it means that, you know, they overcame adversity. They struggled through some games this season. They were, you know, they weren't 100%, or it didn't seem like their head was in it. It didn't seem like they just were out of sync for a little while. And I think that to me means that they're peaking at the right time going into the rest of the postseason, the regional, and I think it means that they are really kind of just getting to the spot that they want to be at exactly the right time.
Who are some players that really need to show up during this tournament?
I think Brett Doherty's going to be a big key, especially with the opponents left in this tournament with Central Oklahoma, who plays well inside, Washburn, who plays well inside, Fort Hays, who has the opportunity to play well inside. I think Doherty's going to be a big key, and how healthy is Chris Ibu-Endow, because he's such a big part of both offense and defense for this team. It's going to be big to see how healthy he is, how athletic he can be.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're going to take a look at some Northwest basketball highlights.
Justin Pitts getting ready for the quarterfinals of the MIAA tourney. The Bearcats taking on Central Oklahoma. First possession of the game, Justin Pitts drives to the middle, hits the floater with the right hand. Cats go up early. Later on, Pitts again, this time to Brett Doherty. He throws down the massive slam. Big game out of that senior. The Broncos working the give and go. Jake Hammond dives to the rim and finishes off the glass. Then look who it is again. Justin Pitts off the pick and pop out to Ryan Welty. He hits down a big 3 late in the first half. Pitts again here, diming it up. Doherty finishes the reverse layup. Northwest heads into the break up by 10. Second half was much of the same. Xavier Kurth drives to the middle, off the glass. Bearcats advance to the championship game, taking this one 65-57. Justin Pitts finished with 24 and 7 assists. Brett Doherty dropped in 13 and grabbed 4 boards. After the game, Coach McCollum talked about what Washburn needs to do in the championship game to beat Northwest.
And I don't want to give too much away. No, I think for them, I think that it's similar to every team that plays us. They're just excited to play Northwest, and it's just the nature of what we've done throughout the years. And so that's probably, now, how would you beat us? I don't know. Just play hard probably is pretty simple. I think when people try to complicate it too much, they get themselves into trouble.
With that win, Northwest moves on to the championship game. We have those highlights later in the show. Stick around. We're going to take a quick break, but you're watching Bearcat Update on KNWT Channel 8. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. I'm Jenny James. Walk-ons are an important piece to any collegiate sports team. Our reporter Becca Ross sat down with one from the Northwest softball team. Becca?
The Northwest softball team is just beginning its spring season. Coach Anderson and the rest of the team are ready to get into the swing of it.
We keep playing teams that are down south that have been outside playing, so that's been the hardest part so far. We're excited to get going again. We think we have a good team. We just need to get out and prove it.
One player in particular, freshman Bailey Maxwell, chose to walk onto the softball team to continue playing the sport she loves.
Well, softball was a sport that I loved in high school, and I decided for whatever reasons not to do it, and then I realized that I missed it. So my parents always told me, whatever you set your mind to do, you can do, so I just decided to go for it.
Coach Anderson believes that walk-ons have just a fair chance as someone who was given a scholarship.
For a walk-on, we give them the same chance we give everybody else. If they earn a spot, that's fine with us. We just want people to come in and compete.
Even though she may be a walk-on, she still puts in just as much work to earn her spot.
I think it's a lot of hard work and dedication, and you have to really love it to do it.
Bailey has showed her worth for the team being a versatile player, as Coach Anderson explains.
Bailey was a kid we didn't know much about coming into this year. she's shown us a lot, played some infield, showed she can play some outfield. She catches for us as well, so it's nice to have somebody that can do multiple things that gives us options.
After college, Bailey wants to continue with her passion of softball.
Well, I'm in business education, so I hope to graduate and then one day become a coach for softball.
Players like Bailey who never give up on their dreams can be an inspiration to anyone out there chasing their goals. With the rest of the season to go, we can't wait to see how the team moves forward. For Bearcat Update, I'm Becca Ross.
The softball team was in action this weekend in Joplin, Missouri.
The Northwest softball team took on Sioux Falls on Saturday and took that win 7-0. Later that day, they took on Drury University and won 2-1. Abigail Gilson had 2 RBIs. Sunday, Northwest took on McKendree University and they fell 2-3. Later that day, they took on Rockhurst University and beat them 9-5.
This weekend, the Northwest track and field team has an unusual week off, but some athletes are preparing for the national indoor meet. Our reporter, Jawan Bush, catches up with some of the athletes and how they prepare for such a large meet.
As Northwest track and field team finishes their indoor season, these 2 athletes both qualified for nationals, being the top 16 in both their events.
Heptathlon comes first, and and the way it'll work out is at the end of the 1,000, I'll have to jump right into high jump right after that if I declared in both. So then we looked at the results and the rankings going into it, and my best bet was to just open high.
Yeah, it was pretty special. I wasn't really expecting it. I was just kind of going into the last meet of the season wanting to do my best, and whatever happens, happens. And I think I was just pretty lucky that I was able to make it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I knew going into it my legs would be heavy because I did the hep prior to high jump, but then once Sunday hit, I felt good waking up, and I went into the competition just ready to go, got in the groove, cleared my bars in the warm-ups, and away we went. I got a nice jump of 6'9", good attempts at 6'11" with heavy legs, so it was all I could ask for.
Well, it was my first time medaling at conference, so that was really exciting. Before, I had finished like 5th or 6th in the high jump every year, and just to kind of break out and do, I didn't even really do my best in everything, so just to do my best and having more to reach is really exciting, and getting on the podium is just a really cool feeling, and I was really excited.
Audrey and Kevin will compete at nationals this weekend at Pitt State, running and jumping against the best in the nation. And for Bearcat Update, I'm Jawan Bush.
Thanks, Jawan. We have one final Northwest basketball game to get to, the MIAA championship game, and of course we were there to get the highlights. Let's take a look.
Big low post matchup between Brady Skeens and Brett Doherty in the championship game. Early on, Skeens pounding the ball down low, goes up strong, gets the bucket. Ichabods take on an early lead. Then Brett Doherty driving, he knocks down the layup. Doherty finished with 6 points on the night. Later on, Justin Pitts off the ball screen. He knocks down the floater, but would not re-enter the game after halftime due to an aggravated toe injury. Pitts again, down to Ryan Hawkins, out to Xavier Kurth. Kurth, money. The senior would not be stopped. Chris Ibuendao knocks down a 3 of his own. The bench is fired up. Then Doherty blocked by Skeens, but the pass is picked off by Kurth. Kurth lays in the layup. Northwest wins a thriller 80-74. Ryan Welty led the Cats with 21 points, shooting 83% from behind the 3-point line. Kirsten Dow had 16 points and pulled down 13 rebounds. Northwest will host its 2nd regional tournament in a row. The Cats take on Minnesota State in the first round on Saturday at 6 p.m. in Bearcat Arena. After Sunday's game, Coach Ben McCollum talked about how nice it is to play on your home floor and host the first 3 games of the tournament.
Well, we almost got beat first round, but second and third round was exceptional. No, it's just fun for the town of Maryville. It is. You bring a lot of teams in to Northwest Missouri State. You can bring a lot of fans in, obviously, if we're fortunate to play multiple games. Then you bring a ton of fans in, and it sells out. It's just a fun environment. It makes it neat for the town of Maryville and for Northwest Missouri State to have that many people on campus.
That's all the time we have, but first it's time for my top 3. 4 athletes on the track team will be competing at the NCAA Indoor National Championships Friday and Saturday at Pitt State. The Bearcat Baseball team will be hosting Northeastern State this weekend, and the Bearcat Softball team will be at Lincoln University Friday and Lindenwood Saturday. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Bearcat Update. You can follow us on Twitter at BearcatUpdate_8 or watch all of our previous episodes on YouTube at KNWT8. Thanks for watching and have a great night.